Peace and blessings to my beloved in Jesus' name. Misael, the chosen servant, back at you once again, ready to deliver a message unto you that'll bless you, whether it's just one person or a million people that are watching this, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to thank my subscribers, old and new as well. And what I want to talk to you today is when Jesus called others animal names. Oh, yes. Because don't you know that there were times in the Word of God when Jesus labeled others by animal names? Okay? Or with animal names, however you want to say it. And so I want you to check this out and follow along, please. The first type of animal that Jesus labeled someone as is a fox. Okay? So if we go to Luke, this is going to be chapter 13, verse 31. Okay? It says here, at that same time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, you must get out of here and go somewhere else because Herod wants to kill you. Verse 32, Jesus answered them, go and tell that fox, I am driving out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I shall finish my work. Yet I must be on my way today, tomorrow, and the next day. It is not right for a prophet to be killed anywhere except in Jerusalem. So, a fox. Some of the characteristics of a fox in their communication, they're highly vocal. They're known to make over 40 different sounds, including sharp barks and high-pitched shrieks. So definitely here Herod is acting like a fox in the way that he is yapping, right? To tell Jesus, right, to get out of here. Because obviously Herod did not know Jesus personally. He couldn't wait to meet him, that's for sure. But we'll talk about that later. A fox's hunting method is known for a characteristic pounce on their prey. So here is an attempt of Herod trying to pounce on Jesus as far as Jesus's ministry, as far as what Jesus had to do, and his driving out demons, his performing cures and all this. And so foxes are quick and naturally curious animals. They display a sly and cunning personality. And being that Jesus knows the hearts of every single person, he definitely knew Herod's, and Herod was this type of person. He was a curious person. He was a person that wanted to see Jesus perform miracles. He questioned Jesus a lot, which you could find and read this in Luke chapter 23, verses 8 and 9. Now, please, I want you to read the entire chapters of all these verses that I'll be reading. Foxes also have extraordinary hearing. So I'm sure Herod was just perking up his ears all the time, wanting to hear about Jesus. Where's Jesus? What's Jesus doing? Where's Jesus at? And just asking all his servants or whoever in an attempt to him or for him to learn more about Jesus' whereabouts, right? And you might have heard the phrase sly as a fox. So even till this day, there are common phrases that include the animal fox in them. And this is one of them. And so let's keep going. What's going on here, though, is Jesus, in the fact that he's saying here that go tell that fox, I'm driving out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I shall finish my work. So obviously here Jesus is showing his authority and his commitment to fulfill his divine purposes in his own timing, okay? Rather than being deterred by political threats, because Herod was a ruler in Galilee and Perea, and he was actually in Jerusalem during the time of Jesus' trial. Let's go. Another animal name that Jesus referred to people as were snakes, or was snakes and vipers. Okay? Saint Matthew here in the KJV chapter 12 verse 34. Jesus speaking, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? Because if you read all before this, Jesus was casting out devils, and here comes the religious folk, right, saying that Jesus cast out devils through the power of Beelzebub. All these religious Pharisees, right? So Jesus wasn't having this. He wasn't having it, and he never tolerated religious BS, right? And so, obviously, vipers, generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Okay? And so, what do snakes do? What do vipers do? They inject hemotoxic venom. Toxic people, right? Ooh, I'm sure you know some of them, right? Hemotoxin is a toxin that causes a hemolytic reaction. Hemolytic reaction has to do with relating to the disintegration of the red blood cells. Now, when you disintegrate something, you're separating it into parts. You're losing intactness or solidness. You're breaking up. It's deteriorating. And that's exactly what someone that is toxic, acting like a viper, like a snake, that's exactly what they do with their words, just spewing venom out of their mouth in an attempt to break things up, right? Deteriorate things. So obviously Jesus is calling out their cruelness here, their hypocrisy, their toxicity. Calling someone a snake is a severe insult that labels them as deceitful, untrustworthy, and treacherous. You might have heard the phrase, a snake in the grass, right? And that means that they're appearing harmless, as these hypocritical Pharisees loved to dress up all nice on the outside, right? Appearing harmless or friendly on the surface, while secretly plotting, backstabbing, or manipulating to get what they want. Phew, man. And so all these phrases and all these animal names, where do they come from? If not from the Bible here, if not from Jesus himself. Because what book do you know that predates the Bible where someone is calling others by animal names? Could it be that all these phrases we use today come from the Bible, come from Jesus himself? And in the way that he used animal names to label people, which till this day, these words are used, right? These phrases are used. These animals are used to characterize people's behavior, character, and so on and so forth. So let's keep going. Dogs now, right? Matthew. This is going to be chapter 15. I want to start with verse 22. A Canaanite woman who lived in that in that region came to him. To who? To Jesus. Son of David, she cried out, have mercy on me, sir. My daughter has a demon and is in a terrible condition. But Jesus did not say a word to her. His disciples came to him and begged him, send her away. She's following us and making all this noise. Verse 24, then Jesus replied, I have been sent only to the lost sheep of the people of Israel. Now, sheep obviously here referring to God's people, right? And I'm not going to talk about the characteristics of a sheep or of sheep, because I'm referring to when Jesus called people by animal names, but that were in a derogatory type of expression, right? So verse 25, at this the woman came and fell at his feet. Help me, sir, she said. Verse 26, Jesus answered, it isn't right to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. That's true, sir, she answered, but even the dogs eat the leftovers that fall from their master's table. Woo! Verse 28, so Jesus answered her, you are a woman of great faith. What you want will be done for you. And at that very moment, her daughter was healed. Wow. So some people, just by being called a dog or a female dog, a bitch, right? That would be enough for them to stop pursuing whatever. In this case, this lady, even though she was called a dog, she was called, a bitch, she still persisted. She did not let that get in her way of her need. What was her need? She wanted her daughter to be healed because she was demonically possessed. So, anyways, and obviously all these animals, right? Foxes, snakes, dogs, and so on, they have a positive side to them. But here we're focusing on the negative aspect, because when Jesus used these animal names to refer to people, they were not in a positive manner. They were as insults in derogatory expressions, right? So calling someone a dog is generally a derogatory insult, implying the person is unattractive, unpleasant, disloyal, or has poor character. It suggests that the individual is acting in a lowly, subhuman, or contemptible manner. Like I said, the female dog, a bitch, right? And you know what? When the term bitch also means anything that is difficult or unpleasant. Like the test was a real bitch, meaning it was difficult, it was unpleasant. And this lady, she was difficult. She was persistent. It was not enough for her to be called a bitch or a dog. She still persisted. She still wanted to get her miracle. She still wanted her daughter to get healed. Right? And so, you see, no matter what you're called, because I know that you know that we know that I have acted like an animal before, and I know people to this day that act like animals. But even if you're the one being called by an animal name or referred to as an animal, you still must keep your dignity, right? This lady never lost her dignity. She never lost focus of why she came to Jesus, even though she faced, she faced strong words, being called a dog, being called a bitch, if you will. That was not enough to stop her. So even if you're called by animal names, don't let that stop you, right? Here's another one. Goats. For this one, we're going to go to Matthew chapter 25 and starting from Verse 31, it does say here, when the Son of Man comes as king and all the angels with him, he will sit on his royal throne, and the people of all nations will be gathered before him. Then he will divide them into two groups, just as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Verse 33, he will put the righteous people at his right hand and the others at his left. Now jumping down to verse 41, then he will say to those on his left, away from me, you that are under God's curse, away to the eternal fire, which has been prepared for the devil and his angels. I was hungry, but you would not feed me. Thirsty, you would not give me a drink. I was a stranger, but you would not come. I was a stranger, but you would not welcome me in your homes. Naked, but you will not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, but you will not take care of me. So, goats are known for mischievous, independent nature. Obviously independent from God in this case because of all that we read there, right? Goats in biblical context are marked by impulsiveness, unpredictability, stubbornness, and a contrary nature, right? A contrary nature to God's people, to sheep, to whatever God has to say. They're never content, always seeking something better, and resist confinement, expertly escaping barriers. And there are some common phrases: get one's goat, that means to annoy, irritate, or provoke someone. A scapegoat is a person blamed for the mistakes, faults, or actions of others. So there you have it. We talked about when Jesus called others animal names. And by no means is this an all exhaustive list. I'm sure there could be more. Comment down below if you know other animal names that Jesus referred to people as. But these are the top 4 that quickly come to mind as far as when Jesus called people animal names. So I do pray that this message blessed you, edified you, encouraged you, got you to see that even to this day, there are people that portray animalistic behaviors and attitudes. And, there are phrases for a reason. And if they did not come from Jesus, then where did you learn all these animalistic name attributes and so on and so forth? So I pray you enjoyed this. I pray that you're blessed. And I just want to thank you so much for listening. Please share, please comment, please subscribe, please like, please donate. I thank you such, and I just love you much.